Here we go.
Farm Companion.
Farm Companion it is.
I was after the ball there, but.
Farm Companion it is. June the 12th that we are recording this.
That it is. Does your watch say that?
Yeah.
I always look at it as if it's going to tell me the date, and I'm like, I've had this watch for 6-7 years. I barely know how to set the time on it.
June the 12th.
Is it 10:14? Is that right?
It is 10:14.
How about that?
In the morning.
That G-Shock's been money, dude. I bought that for that first mule deer hunt.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought another one after the fact, I wanted to have like a different style or whatever. Mm-hmm. And both the batteries died on these at some point, so I had to send them in.
Yeah.
And this freaking watch company sends them back, and the first time I get in the shower with the other one, it was, it got wet. Sorry, I'm a little hot here.
It got wet and like what? Just like fried it?
Yeah, fried it. And so I wrote them, and they're like, yeah, that's, it's like on our disclaimer. It's like may or may not guarantee waterproofness. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Really?
That's the whole point.
Interesting.
Yeah, so.
Huh. Yeah, that's weird. Especially after they fixed it or repaired it.
Yeah.
Like broke the seal.
That's what it was, yeah. So this one's still good, though. Rocking.
Well, we were just talking. It feels like we're like literally have just got into summer, but it also feels like we're like flying through summer.
Yeah, it does.
It's like it's June 12th and we're flying through summer. It's really not even the first official day of summer till next week.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a good thing. At some point it may just hit us in the face and stop like a wall. It may just be like, oh, it's now indefinitely summer,
I mean, I think
has a way of doing that.
Yeah, I think the good parts of it are like crops are in the ground. Like we're in a good spot to where like we're focused back on kind of like everyday work.
What are we focusing? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what do I do with my hands at this point? I'm longing for deer projects, and I'm like, everything's, it's in good place.
And they're coming fast. I mean, the moment we get to July, it's cameras, it's stands, it's, thinking about brassicas or fall plots or whatever. So, I mean, we're not that far off. I mean, fortunately, we've had really good rain so far. Mm-hmm. So the spring was good in most parts, although Illinois is still a little dry, but it's not that bad.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, we got a good rain, whatever it was, a week ago or something. But like, if you look at like the 90-day, like it's not good. It's dry, which is really funny because I think I was talking to Duncan or Skip in Iowa, and they're like, man, it's been insanely wet, like so much moisture out there. And then and we have as well. Like it feels like it rains every other day here, but apparently it's missing at least our farm in Illinois. So I don't know. But
I'm not worried about it. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Always is.
Not always. Most of the time it is.
Almost always. Yeah. You got plenty of time to salvage it too. So.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean it's only timely rains that you need, mainly from a crop standpoint.
Yeah. I got too many other things to stress about. The weather's not one of them. Can't be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But later on a more, when it's like, especially brassicas, because it's like there aren't a whole lot of opportunities to. I mean, you got cereal grains. It's kind of a fail safe, but it's like, yeah, you'd like to get some timely rains on those.
Yeah.
Quick and early.
Yeah, you need them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I mean, we were talking about that here already. Of like. Well, the good thing was it looks like our brassica plots that we sprayed in May are like nuked.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, so that's good.
That's way more than I could say any other year prior. I've never really been on top of it like that.
Yeah, and I mean we did use 2,4-D in that as a pre-emergent, which I think historically we had not. We usually just glide them, right?
Yeah, well, because usually we don't spray it until right before.
2-3 weeks before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that definitely helped any try to resurgence because it's only like, what is it, a 10-day type of lifespan in there in the soil. So it's really like kills off the other stuff. If you get a good rain, it prevents a resurgence right away.
Yeah. Well, our mindset, I think, has shifted more just to like that of a farmer where weed maintenance is like first and foremost. And the more diligently you keep up with them, and not letting things get to seed head and stuff. And it's like, you're going to be in a better place when it comes time to plant.
What a different world though from soil types. Like in Illinois, it's amazing how fast those weeds grow in that soil. Where like, even when I was in Kentucky this week, I was looking at my beans and corn and like, there's some grasses and stuff in there, but like it's been 6 weeks since I've nuked that stuff. And like, the tallest grass is 4 inches.
Yeah.
That in Illinois would be 3 feet.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
it's a little discouraging actually to be out there and see just like how lush everything. Like or just dense. It's like things are overrun. It's like fields easily become overgrown, like thickets and stuff. And at home, it's like, it takes years. You look through the woods and you're like, there's a couple little
years for that to happen.
Mayaples coming up or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like nothing, or some ragweeds. We gotta just mow that,
Yeah, no, and it just is exploding out there on stuff. But, I think the downfall on a lot of those places is like that most of those farms don't have the browse that we have back home, just because it's smaller woodlots and stuff. Like there's forbs and things.
Woody browse, you mean?
Yeah, like the woody browse aspect of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that definitely plays an effect, especially once the crops come down. But I would assume as you get into that winter time period in early spring is like, maybe you're getting some earlier green up because of soil quality, especially with some forbs and, cool season type stuff. But they definitely don't have the overwhelming woody browse that we have back here to kind of sustain them in the wintertime. And that's just purely from a lack of woods. Like there just isn't a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I mean, we're planting a lot of food, so I think on our farm, we didn't run out of food last year. You know what I mean? So any deer in a 5 square mile, as long as they had been to our farm at some point, or
they know it's there,
could find it. Yeah, we had standing grain, and I'm sure there's others that do also. So they probably depend on that pretty heavily, I would say. There's also, guys get in a habit of just looking at their farm, and you're like, well, we have like 30 acres total of timber, and it's like, we could do better at the management and stuff. But if you zoom out, it's like you can find big, several 100-acre contiguous timber blocks that, it's out there. Even at our front, you just go a little bit east and there's big timber there.
Well, I know one of our buddies had that timber or had his piece of timber flown with the thermal drone in the wintertime, and I think they counted like 100 plus deer on his property.
Did they?
Yeah. And it's like, that was like all the deer from a couple square miles just like into that. Which makes sense if from a time of the year and what food was available and stuff like that. But it's really different when you get into that. Like I was even just kind of looking around my Kentucky place, and like I've got some good woody browse, but there's definitely some timber management I could do there. On the flip side, like if I look at Ohio, like dude, my browse is off the freaking charts there.
Yeah, dude, I think everybody could do a little bit better at timber management. Probably myself. Like as the priority, first and foremost, we've done TSI on, I would say, a better part of the timber, but it's been 7 years on some of it, and we didn't do a lot of invasive management prior to some of that, and we never burned off leaf litter, and frankly, we could have cut it way harder than we did, and so I'm looking back through it now, and I'm like, dude, that's the fundamental of like habitat management is you gotta manage your timber. And so we need to get back to that.
Or timber species, they're an edge species. They want that early successional habitat, know.
Well, and I told you too, talking about edge and feathering edge and stuff. That's a cornerstone practice.
It is.
That I frankly haven't done a whole lot of, just because, my dad is one of those guys. All farmers, guys in their 40s, 50s, they like clean edges.
Yeah, they want to mow it.
They want to mow it and stuff like that. And like the reality is, I should probably just walk. There's got to be miles of perimeter of timber across our entire property.
Just dropping trees.
I could just go and drop trees out on all of it and reduce the size of our timber by probably like 20, 30 acres.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I did all that, you know, and it would all be edge cover, like transitional. It would be awesome bedding. So, I mean, that's on the radar as well.
No, I mean, I think that's a great point on it. It's I think it comes back. We've talked about like farm DNA in the past and just kind of understanding. And, I think our Illinois farm's a really good example where I think because of its location and like how the ag is around it, I would have said originally, like, man, every big buck in the area is betting on our farm in the summertime because of the lack of habitat around, right? Just looking at our contiguous block there of 140 acres. First of all, they're not doing that. But I think it's because there's just these islands that are out in these big ag fields, and they may only be an acre or two or four, but like that's enough to just have a bachelor group, living in it.
Absolutely. I think my mindset, and maybe both of ours together, has changed about how and where they bed in the summer. It's like they don't even need to go in the timber.
No.
More often than not, I see them just come out of a fence row, like between corn and beans, or just something low, hold cool down.
No pressure, no threats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's all
that's what it seems like. But I mean, so I look at that, and in retrospect, like I would not have thought my Ohio farm would be a summer buck like farm, but it is. Like it's insane how many bucks right now are packed into that farm, and they'll disperse. Especially as we have a mass crop. In October especially. But
well, you're also in a big timber area.
I am.
So it's not like there's expansive ag that they're going to just be out in.
No, but I mean, I would assume like if I went 4 or 5 farms over, they don't have any bucks in the summertime because it's just where are they ranging right now, right? It's small ranges, small areas, and it's just, I don't necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily think that is anything to do too much with the work that I'm doing on that farm because I had several bucks in summertime when I first bought it, and I didn't really do anything at that point. I think it's just how they use the property, how they use the farm, and that's a farm DNA thing. There are late season farms, there's early season farms, there's rut farms. Like that's just, you've got to really be able to start. And I think it takes years to figure out for sure versus like, oh, the bucks were there in the rut this year. It's year repeats to understand like that is this farm's DNA. That's how you're going to have to hunt it. That's when you're going to be the most successful.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's strategic advantage. There are strategic advantages to both, but it's like clearly if your farm is only holding bucks in the summertime and they're leaving before season, well, that sucks. That's not good. Fortunately,
or even during season. It's not ideal.
No, to Sturgis's point, like you're not influencing the herd, right? And unfortunately, like that's where my Ohio farm seems to be right now. Is like I'm not losing all of my bucks, but I also can't hold 23.5-year-old and older bucks on 250 acres. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah. Parts of our Ohio farm had been that way too.
I remember that. Like in the summertime, you would be like, it was amazing how many big bucks were running around there. Like, holy cow, this is crazy. But after like the opening week, it was like,
they would vanish,
gone.
But then we would start to notice certain areas. We had more ability to, I think, hold them longer. It seemed to have a lot to do with. It's hard to nail it down to just one thing, but the areas that we applied the most management, that would be, that'd be your timber span, TSI type stuff.
Yep.
Standing grain year round is a big one. Water holes, and those were the main ones. I'm working on the switchgrass stuff, but I can't attribute any success so far to that because it's still kind of early on with that. But those areas we were able to establish, I think, more full season patterns.
Right.
So that'd be like the Roberts where we do most of our stuff there. But then some of the other satellite stuff where there's just really nothing. It's, there's little timber pockets in big ag and stuff. Yeah, those ones dried up pretty quick, still do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's the reality that it doesn't matter if you're leasing a property or permission or you own it, like even in public, like they're different. Public's going to be affected by the pressure a lot differently, but each of these places has a different role. And I think the quicker you can identify that and kind of adapt even our food strategy. So like in Ohio, I do have beans in the bottom, but everything else is clover. And that's because like even right now they're crushing that clover. And they will in September, and they will in that first week or two of October for sure. And that's probably the best time I have to kill one of these bucks that I'm targeting on there. After that, I'm not saying that he's going to leave completely, but it's going to become much more inconsistent than it is in the first week or two of the season. So I'm kind of...
Are you talking about Ohio mainly?
Yeah, well, even in my Kentucky farm, the new Kentucky farm, like that's very much setting up like a summer farm, an early season.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I think the difference there is that those two farms are in big woods areas, so the mast has a giant influence on the behavior after first or second week of October. I think before that, it doesn't play as much of a role, but as soon as we get to maybe the second week of October, then I see a very, very hard shift in those areas.
Oh, but it's not like you don't have a mast, right? Like
no,
any less than anywhere else. You have quite a bit of it.
I do.
If anything, and I'm looking at Ohio is like because of the timber stuff that you've done here recently, you should have better cover than a lot of the surrounding areas, I would think. So, I would expect over time, pressure is the variable that we haven't really got to on this yet. I think that's
huge piece.
Huge. But your Ohio piece should start to be more of a full season farm.
I think I just can't,
There's just no, why would they leave if you have the best cover and the same food?
Social interactions.
Yeah, I mean, any farm can only sustain so many deer.
I think that's the big one. Yeah. So it's like, how many mature bucks can you shove into this 250 acre farm?
I think it depends how thick it is. I think it's like kind of the main thing. How big does the farm feel? How isolated can they be within it? Mm-hmm. And that's the trick. That's what they call making a farm hunt big.
Sure.
It's like it's not just for your access, but for deer to feel insulated from one another through density of cover.
And that farm does. I mean, because of the cover density and because of the way that the food is strategically laid out there, like it feels huge. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it could be a difference this year. And again, it's going back to like how long you've had these farms. Like really, for the most part, this is like the third or fourth year of influencing that farm, depending on which piece of the farm you're talking about. So I mean, that's the other, I think, biggest part of it is figuring out. It takes 5 years to get that buck to 5 years old, which we've talked about before. And so, when you start to be able to influence those deer from essentially a button buck or a 1-year-old, that really plays a lot different into deer that you basically inherit at 3 or 4 years old and end up being 5 years old.
Yeah. Well, I think like your farms are both in big timber area, and I think just the nature of those deer is a little different. I just think
the travel.
I just think they range a little bit bigger, just inherently. Whether that's for food sources, doe groups, all of the above. They just kind of they have more of a travel routine.
Well, we had a buck last year that he may have been 6 last year. Honestly, he's either 5 or 6. Just a big mainframe 8 with a drop on one side, and that deer, since I've owned that farm, has been a homebody. Like he's there somewhere on the farm all through the season. Maybe not super consistently, but he's there throughout the week. And I want to say mid-October last year, gone. Like never showed back up, gone, assumed dead, at that part just because of his previous behavior. But I got a picture of him this morning, I think. And yeah, I don't know, where to go. Like he just popped off for 2 months at a time. And again, I'm not saying that it's like that's not uncommon because that's what deer do.
That's probably just a fall range shift.
But historically, he had been on the farm. Like he didn't leave. He was always there throughout the season. It's just last year when he made that change, I was talking to Kevin about it. I was like, man, I assume he's dead. He got shot. I don't know. Like he was definitely the dominant deer for the area. But yeah, he looks like he showed up again this morning.
Yeah, they'll do that. I mean, it's just we want from a pattern sake for them to be that's where they bed. That's what they do. But they're just
they just move.
Aren't always that way. Yeah, for reasons that we may not ever know. But it's probably not a complicated one. It's probably just
well, and I mean in that state, he probably found a corn pile. And may have just married to a bait or feeder or
maybe
corn pile.
Who knows? It could be anything. Mm-hmm. I mean that definitely will have that effect, but so will other things.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah, I've had deer that ranged on us, for a better part of a year, and then remember that last year there was that deer that showed up 2 years ago
that
as
big 8.
I think he was a 3-year-old. He's like 8 or 9.
Yep, over by.
He came all the way from the tile lake, and he was on us for like all the rest of the year, type of thing. And then I predicted, I was like, he's going to show up within the next, and he did. Mm-hmm. Showed up on like October 20th, hit this scrape, and then never to be seen again.
Gone.
But I know guys were seeing him.
Yeah.
Just elsewhere, and I'm like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. He showed up that year, but never just kind of decided not to stay there. Probably that herd dynamic probably has a lot to do with it, more than
I think it has a ton to do. Yeah, I mean that's the mystery of. I was gonna ask. So Strickland I was talking to Strickland the other day. He had 60 adult bucks collared in Mississippi, and just was taking got GPS data, and they're just looking at weather patterns and stuff like that. But I don't know how you would necessarily do it, but I would love to kind of narrow that down and look at like maybe seasonality where their home ranges were and then how those shifted and like, did they get killed? Did they survive? And I think that the problem with some of those is they're like, hey, in the area, they're like, hey, don't shoot the collared deer. Right. So there's like an instant bias of like, did that deer leave the property and get shot, or did he just go somewhere else and he'll come back type of thing. But that's kind of the, I know most universities don't give a shit about that research, but that's kind of the research that I look at as like, man, think about just the deer that we just talked about. And if you had a collar, a tracker on them to understand where they went, what they did, and are they still there? Did they come back? Did they find a new, better area? Like, those are the mystery pieces. Like, dude, that shit drives me crazy.
Does it?
Oh yeah. Those deer of years past that just like, where'd they go? What'd they do? Are they still alive?
Well, I can't.
You don't have that?
No, because just the reality is like there's a lot of ground out there.
Well, what do you think? Like Crazy Horse last year. Think he's alive?
I think he is. I don't have much evidence to support that, but I feel like he probably is. He might not be, but I feel I won't be surprised if he shows back up. We saw him less than I would have expected last year for sure. I don't necessarily have like an explanation. I do think he was bedding in that bed that we walked through.
Yeah,
right by the house there.
Yep.
At least part of the time. I can't necessarily explain it, but I also know that there's so much that we don't know. So so that's why I can sleep at night with it. I'm like, it's not like it's like, where is he? It's just like, I know what we can access, and I know if he's honest, we'll kill him, type of a thing. Did you see that other half rack down at the honey hole there?
Yeah, the one with the little like nub on that side.
Yeah, as time goes on, I'm just like, dude, if they're there, you know. You know what I mean? Because it's like he had shown up on that. He came in from the east.
Yep.
Came through that pinch, and then later that day, worked up and through there. I'm like, we got it figured out. We got the farm, pretty dialed in there.
Yeah.
It's just,
are they there?
When do they move in, and what's the move?
Yeah, and I mean that's a deer. The Crazy Horse deer we're talking about, guys, is like, I don't know, 8 years old, 9 years old, who knows? Old.
We don't know.
Old. And showed up late the first year we owned it, ran all over the damn place. All over the place.
I'm trying to remember the first year. Was it the year? It was the first year.
November. We've only had it for 2 years.
When did he show up?
November.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like what you would expect from a rut standpoint.
Right.
But then he stuck around.
Yeah.
For a while. And then last year.
And he was like the predominant, I would say he was the dominant buck throughout November and December.
Seemed like it.
And that part of the farm.
We had removed 2 bucks and then soon to be a third buck that were mature in that tight time frame too. So we basically opened the gate for him, right? Because we took 3 mature bucks off of that property.
Yep.
And then last year he cleaned up, but we had him in the summertime. He was up at North in the Clover in the summertime. So like all of a sudden a deer that we hadn't seen.
We wouldn't have known the year prior because we didn't even have cameras out until September. Yeah.
Yep. No, July. We had him out in July.
Did we?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's funny on that farm. Those summer and even early season sightings are like just sparse. They're here.
Very sparse.
They're here and there. It's like, oh, there he is, and I recognize that buck, and it's a giant. And then it's like, but there's no pattern. It's just.
Well, that's what threw me off. Is I assumed that was going to be like a really good October hunting farm, like opening day type stuff, because of all the crop around it and it being cover.
I still think it can be. I think it's just going to be situational. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we could kill that 8 on the Cove in early season.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't show up last year until he might have been Hardhorn, the first time we saw him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Type of a thing. So I'm never discouraged, and that's kind of what I'm getting across here is like, you just can't expect them to do what you expect.
No.
To do anything. It's just they're going to be there when they're there, and the stage is set. So I mean, whenever they reveal themselves and they're doing what you figure out what they're doing, then you make a move.
Yeah, and that farm is completely different, right? I've never experienced a farm with as much buck turnover as that one has had in the first 2 years. And it not just like they all die, like we get a new set of mature bucks basically that move in.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I think as time goes on, that'll dwindle.
Yeah,
I think it's our perception more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's only been 2 years, so we don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean that's the hardest part about like any of these places that you pick up. It's like 2, 3, 4. It's really 5 years in of I think before you kind of learn the full potential. Like I would have not wrote it off, but I mean, I would have said with a pretty good definity that like odds of my Kentucky farm producing anything over 160 was gonna be a stretch. But I bet that deer's all over it this year.
Oh yeah.
And I mean
that's the pessimist in you, dude. They're freaking out there, man.
Yeah, it is, but it isn't. It's also like just the reality of what you're dealing with. It's no different than like in Ohio, us talking about trying to get bucks to 5 years old, and it's like it's not easy.
Yeah, but what are you dealing with in Kentucky?
Neighbor pressure
just
and
low deer numbers, right?
And they'll shoot anything and low deer numbers.
You do have a lot of neighboring pressure.
Yeah, I mean they killed. I mean, it's funny how they talk about it out there, but like it's a giant ridge that essentially my property's on, and I think they killed 6 or 7 bucks off of that ridge. But like, there's only 120 bucks killed in the whole county every year. Like,
yeah,
there's not many.
I guess that's more than I realized. I didn't know that you were really contending.
And I mean, you're talking about several, like 2,000 to 3,000 acres, you know, for those $6. So, I mean, it's a giant swath of land. It's just our deer numbers are low historically.
Yeah.
And that's because, you know, we've had a lot of EHD down there, multiple bouts. We haven't since 19, knock on wood, and that's the last one. So, I mean, if you're thinking about that, you know, those deer born in 19 will be 5 this year.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the numbers are increasing down there at all? Like in your specific pocket?
I don't know. The interesting thing is I have what I would consider a decent amount of bucks on that property. I don't see a lot of does. I hardly ever see fawns on that property, which is, I don't know if that's a predator issue or what. Maybe.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's, I'm seeing bucks get through multiple age classes, so that's encouraging. So that would make you think that the population has to be going up, but it's still relatively low, which I don't know necessarily if I need it. Like, I don't want it to be high. Like, I'd rather these bucks have room to do their thing without feeling social pressure, or especially from a food standpoint. Like, I mean, I've got food year round down there because they don't eat it all.
Right.
I mean, that's why I sent those pictures. Like, my volunteer beans look as good as planted beans.
Yeah.
But I do think that when they start to spread themselves out in that big timber, when the mast and just behavior in general from pre-rut changes, like it gets thin pretty quick. You know, there's definitely, you know, on 275 acres, like there's 10, 15 deer, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting. I'm going to fly my thermal drone at some point and do that. But, like right now, I mean, I would say that I've got 17 to 20 bucks on that property right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. And again, it'll thin out as the season. Now, again, talking about the DNA, though, that September season in Kentucky caters to that farm perfectly. Like, if I can stack all those bachelor groups in there in the first 2 weeks of September, like I got as good chances anytime during the year to kill a good one.
Yep.
Before they really break out.
Where did you have that close call last year? Was that Ohio or Kentucky?
I was Kentucky early.
Where and he was coming off that just knob down there. Yeah.
Yep. Which I restructured. I mean, I put that in beans again this year. Part of it, some of it's in corn, but I've got a closer tree to that point of entry into that field that I'm going to put a lone wolf in. That it'll be spot on.
Cool. What? And you said there's a water hole down there too, right? Like a natural one.
Yep. Yeah, it needs dug out a little bit, but I mean they're in it. Like, even I was there mowing trails this weekend, and like you could see like 2 trails coming like right through the water hole up into the bean plot.
Did you be able to shoot that from your stand? Yeah.
Yeah. I assume he hit that before he came right out.
But he did. You got a mineral down there?
Not right there.
Are you like running a camera down in that area, or?
I have one of those 360 cameras in the field, but it's dead. But I usually do.
Yeah.
Yep.
That deer sounds toast to me. Should be.
Yeah, I haven't seen him. He should be 6 this year.
Well, yeah, you're not worried about that. It's June.
Yeah.
It's just he'll do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he'll be in there. But yeah, no, I mean that one's.
Dude, I will say my attitude towards like the summer stuff has totally changed. I used to tiptoe around my farm constantly.
Yeah.
Like it would be May and I'm like, I don't know. You know, maybe
just from a pressure standpoint?
Just from a pressure standpoint. I was so paranoid about driving around and checking in fields and stuff. And dude, I'm like,
they don't care.
They don't care. They're not there.
Yeah.
They're not there. They're somewhere else.
Yeah. And if they are there, they don't care.
It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect anything. You know, you don't want to go in and just turn their world upside down. It's like, you know, like.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in there like chainsaw and bedding areas and stuff right now.
Well, I mean, whatever that means to you, you know what I mean? It's like if there is a deer there now and you're able, you know what I mean, through cameras or something, you're seeing, you know, you don't want to go in and just like intentionally screw with them and disturb them. But just compared to the way I used to think, I generally, I'm not concerned with, like, if things need done on the farm, like I'm going to go do them. I'm not going to tiptoe around. I'm just going to go in, I'm going to get the work done. Several guys have mastered, even during the season. It's like the hiding in plain sight. Oh yeah, thing I think is way better, especially with a farm like mine it's getting, you know, there's human presence on it regardless. Like dad's out driving, you know, cows are getting out. There's farmers.
That's a good point, man. And I don't know. That's one of those we don't know what we don't know type of things. But like, you know, if you hear what, you know, Lukoski or Drury's are talking about, where they're like setting these farms up and like they're out, like they're not on them until like it's time to kill. And not that mine are anywhere near that, but I mean, I'm an absentee landowner, right? So I'm just not on those farms nearly as much. You know, I do think that you probably have to have a little bit more careful than like with your farm where your dad's like out cutting timber and wood and whatever.
It creates some, like, there's some unique pros and cons, I think, to each. Like, it's like, yes, in a perfect world, if I could have a farm that nobody ever goes on it, it's like it's completely isolated. It's just pure deer space, and I have a way to access and hunt that without them ever knowing I'm there. Yeah, probably best case scenario. But a more likely scenario is like, you know, you have a farm that there's farming activity on, or you know, if you own it, you know, I mean, you're going to the pond and fishing it, or you're cutting firewood and stuff like that. So you're better off just to, like, you know,
just be there.
Just do it. Just do the thing. Like, don't worry about it. Like, if you're going to hang a tree stand, like in timber, don't like creep in there like 2 weeks before season and like think that you're being sneaky. Like, just go do it. Drive the tractor down in there and cut some trees down and blow your trail out on the way in, hang the stand, and then leave. Yep. Yeah. They're going to know you're there either way. Like, they smell you.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the fine line that a lot of people, you're right. I mean, the amount of times, like even right now or in July, when people are like, yeah, I'm just going in. I'm like, dude, it's 90 degrees out. You're sweating your butt off. Like, they know you're in there, right? Oh, but the reason you're hanging it or doing what you're doing in July is so that they get used to it, you know, and they forget about it. You know, then when you go in to kill them, you don't want them to know you're there. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's where some of those places work really good from like your come get me stand, where it's like, those deer don't care that somebody drives in there and picks them.
We're in there constantly.
Yeah, they're just like, whatever. Whereas, like, if I probably did that on some of mine, they'd be like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah. Well, and the strategy to that is, like, there is a routine to it. It's like, we don't, you know, I don't drive through the timber necessarily. Like, frequently. I mean, I just said drive in and do the stand thing here, but like generally we're sticking to the trails. Yep. Like, we don't get off the roads. They know where the roads are at. And so even if I have drive-throughs and they're in the fields, like, they don't expect me to veer off and, you know, drive straight at them through the thing. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really the summer is such it's a cool time because it's hard too, because you're looking at this thing like fully flushed out, you know, in terms of the foliage and you know, the woods look a lot thicker than they actually are going to be when the season comes around, but it's a great time to just be able to go in there and kind of, like you said, do your thing and, you know, not have to worry, not be as aggressive as you would maybe like right after the season when you're in bedding areas, shed hunting or doing TSI work or something. But, you know, from those deer, I think they know when they're hunted and they know when they're not. Yeah. You know, I mean, if you walk up and there's a bachelor group of bucks eating in a bean field and they look at you, you know, they wouldn't be doing that come October. You walk up there and they're gone. You know, frankly, they wouldn't even be there in daylight probably. So it's, you know, it's that mindset of just understanding like how your behavior is. I think Cody DeQuista said it best when he was like, if I'm walking through and I don't have my bow with me, like, the deer know that I'm not hunting them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can get in there and scout and tentatively and like it's a different feeling versus I have my bow and I'm stalking through there. There's an intention of killing.
Yeah.
And that I think that
they can read demeanor and body language, and
yeah.
I don't think they know what a bow is necessarily, but they
know if you're doing a sneak attack versus like you're just walking through, like looking at them like, hey.
Yeah. Well, it's just cool. I mean, that's one cool thing about, you're talking about the DNA of farms. Like, different farms give you different like opportunity. It's like if you're in an uppity, like a horse area, you know what I mean? Or like, it's like, hey, there's horse trails through your property. Some people might look at them and be like, I'm putting the kibosh on that immediately type of thing. But, and maybe, you get to October, November, you ask those people to, hey,
sure.
dial it back or whatever. But like, what an opportunity to be able to access some of your property with horses and have the deer
not give a shit.
Literally could care less. They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah.
And same as, if you're bordered by like a railroad, track or something. And I mean, that's a great opportunity to,
there's always activity on that.
Use that noise and stuff. There's activity on that kind of highways, same thing there. It's like, so you just got to see what's there and read it and use it to the best of your advantage. Try to, perceive or understand how the deer are perceiving pressure on that area and then use it to your advantage.
No, I think that's it, man. And it's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, we're scheming more than anything. Like we were just looking at our July calendar. And it's like, hey, we got to get back to Illinois and Nebraska's in. We want to hang some stands. We want to get our cameras ready. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at now. I think we're both due here, in the next 2 weeks or less to spray our beans.
Yeah, 2-3 weeks.
Yep. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of it.
Yeah, well, I was going to go today and spray some of that switch grass fields. I was going to hit just with
quinclorac.
Not even quinclorac. I don't really have any foxtail. I was just going to hit it with 2,4-D and simazine.
Okay.
And like a crop oil. And I was going to pull some of those, pull some stands and move some stuff. Maybe throw another camera or two out. Maybe I was thinking about stopping at Walmart and grabbing some.
Yeah.
Not looking forward to those AA purchases, but
we missed an opportunity there. I forget. Somebody wrote us, and it was like I bought some, but not enough. It was like they were on sale for like $1.40 a pop.
Dude, I wonder what tariffs are doing to lithium batteries right now.
No, I did buy some the other day. I think they were like $1.80 per battery or something like that, which I think is the norm. Maybe a little cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. Usually I buy the big.
Yeah, the 18 or
18s. 18 pack from Sam's Club. I think they're like $34 usually.
Yeah, that seems all right.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's
And I buy like 12 packs at a time.
Yeah, they're like, what is this guy doing?
It's like $400.
Dude, I have like these giant, like, I think they're like 5-gallon containers in my hunting room that are just full of like dead batteries. Because I was just like throw them in there. I'm like, I don't want to put these in a landfill. And then I like have these like barrels of like expired AA batteries.
Yeah, I'm too easily confused. I'm like, are these good or are these not?
Mine just all go into. I pull them out and just drop them in there.
I got to keep them separate, like totally segregated.
Yeah. So we've got that going on. And then, I mean, that's kind of it, is like hoping for some timely rains.
What's been nice, dude, is I don't get as stressed out about, it used to be a big thing about like, well, we're going to trim all the lanes, and like go check all the stands type of thing.
Yeah.
I just kind of like,
Yeah. I'll climb up in them when it's opportunistic. I climbed up in one on, when did I leave? Tuesday? I was in Kentucky. I was mowing trails, so I backed the brush hog in just to clear a trail climbed up in, and I'm like, a couple here and there that I'll need to trim, but other than that, I'm like, it's good.
I mean, I'm a huge advocate of permanent stands in the right locations, but it's just like, how many do you really need? Like we used to have like 30 to 40, just everywhere for every possible situation.
Every possible situation, you'd put a permanent.
And I'm like, there's not even a deer in that part of the farm that I'm interested in hunting right now. Like there was, I hung it for a reason at one point in time, but then it's just out there rotting and like, and so.
Agree.
And frankly, most of them are still out there type of a thing. And, but I've pulled some along the way, and like, I've whittled the permanent stand number down to like maybe a third of what we used to have. And, and the rest are like, and it's also because of my confidence to just like
hang and bang.
To hang and bang, So
Yeah, I think that's a huge like. Well, even that tree that we were talking about earlier, where I was in a ladder stand when I had that close encounter. Had I been down where I'm going to put this stand in, like he would have been dead. And so, yeah, I went in, I mowed a trail down to it. I'm going to have corn all on my right-hand side, like, I don't know, 8 or 9 rows, and then it'll be beans. So that'll be my screen, and I'll slip up in there, and I'll hang a lone wolf, and then I'm done. Like, I don't.
So you're going to do that beforehand, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll probably put one of those Patriot series in
a situation like that, it's like.
It's the right spot.
Yeah.
And I know that that's one of the spots that I will hunt early season for sure.
Yeah. I love having spots like that prepped, like now, like May, even better. Like have your mock scrape set on there, have your stand in there trimmed out, and then you just don't touch it. Just wait for him to do the thing. Usually that requires like a year or two of seeing what the deer's of what he's doing there.
Yeah,
and maybe some micro adjustments like that. That Jared and Margie stand is an example of that, where I've made some fine tunes and we've had some close calls in there. The deer, as far as I know, is still alive.
Oh, interesting.
Could kill that deer. He'd be a 6-year-old. He's not a giant, but I mean,
yeah,
he'd probably be a mid-30s 8-point this year, 140-inch 8-point maybe. But I'd be elated to kill him there.
Yeah. No, I think it's good to have those ones that are kind of based on history or whatever. They're good, solid stands to have. You don't need to hang 30 of them.
I could probably name on one hand. It's like, and where they're at. I could do Jared and Margie stand is clutch.
Gas line.
The tin shed gas line is clutch. I think Brian's stand.
Yep.
Is clutch. And I mean, as far as like a 90+%, like maybe that's it. I mean, there's other satellite stands to those. Like I think that waterhole stand is dynamite.
Absolutely.
But
original clover, if there's a deer there, that's a great spot.
Original clover on the Hinton. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, dude, there's lots of good stands. Yeah. Pinch is a good one.
Yep.
But just over the years, you dial it down. You're like, you will kill a deer here. It's just like a matter of time, and is the right one there.
Yeah, I think especially early in the season, because of the pattern ability of those deer, that's where those Patriot series are going to be awesome. As we kind of get past that first week or two of the season, then having the mobility is critical. Because those are just starting to shift, especially when all of a sudden like this new scrape pops up and he's cranking on it and weather conditions are right. Like that's the mobile side. But I think early in the season, I mean, it's fine if you want to be mobile, but I think you can have several of those sets ready to roll and know that you're going to climb in them with a high likelihood.
Yeah. Well, and like in our Illinois farm, I mean, the farm is...
there's only so many places you can hunt there.
Right. So 9 times out of... I don't know, 8 times out of 10... At this point, we're probably in a permanent stand just because we've, it's not that big of a farm and we've got it pretty figured out.
And it's more of an access restriction than anything. It's like, sure, you could really dive in there with a mobile set, but it's like you're going to blow the whole farm out.
Yeah, maybe. Well, and as we continue to do that, like I hunted mobile quite a bit last year, and that led to a few of the permanent stands for this year. So that's generally what it is. It's like it's a pioneering mission. It's like, hey, I saw something that prompted me to make a move and be mobile. And then that is, that led to a discussion about like, should we have a permit? What's access look like for this? And then, the goal is to get a permanent stand in as many of those trees as, you think are necessary, but.
Yep. And then always be ready to have to pivot if you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great time of year to be thinking about that kind of stuff and thinking about permanent sets and where you might want to go in and check things out. But, I will say, and I think we talked about it, it might've been in the last podcast or something. It's and every year, I guess it's not surprising, but every year it builds more confidence finding those community scrapes from year over year.
That's everything.
I mean, like even that buck here on the mountain I showed you this morning. I mean, he was crushing a community scrape with another buck, and just walking through. And I may not see him again for 2 or 3 weeks, but it's like he's in there, And so those are really, really good spots for the summertime to take inventory, especially from a buck standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, minerals and everything else. Yeah, I get it. But that's a big one.
Agreed.
Cool. Anything else?
Nope. That's it.
That's it. That's the grand scheme of things. So we appreciate everyone listening to Farm Companion this week, and we'll catch you all next Sunday.
Farm Companion.
Take me